I've been making videos about the villains of my favorite superhero shows as of late. Well, except The Boys, as I don't know how exactly I would do that. As, like, I don't know who would qualify as a villain and who would qualify as a hero. Like, would I put Ashley in the villain video? Or, like, do I not put Ashley in the villain video? Do I put the Great Eagle in the villain video? He didn't do anything wrong, but he hangs around with the villains. In fact, all he's ever done was call it a cult and help the deep. Technically, that's heroic qualities. So I don't know how I'm meant to, count who counts as a villain and who counts as a hero. Either way, I decided that instead we'll be talking about the villains of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, unlike my videos on Gotham Batwoman, this will be a 3-part series rather than a 2-part, as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has a lot more villains than either of those series, since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got 7 seasons, while Batwoman got 3 and Gotham got 5. Let's start off with the longest running villain on the show, and that is Grant Ward. Who was a character who I thought as a hero when he was first introduced. I really disliked him at first. That's because I saw him as a standard perfect milktoast dude who's an a-hole. But when the twist came that he was a villain, not only did it work, it improved his character so much. His connection to the main team also brought a lot of moments between Ward and other characters. I don't think they should have killed him off, honestly, but I did like how his death was being killed by Coulson. And I also felt like you really understood Ward's background and his backstory of why he's a villain, and how his trauma is now being presented in a way that he's just crazy. And at the end of the day, despite the fact that he might want a motivation and stuff, all the main characters like May, Quake, and Coulson have called him out on his BS, and that at the end of the day, he genuinely has no real motivation, and he's just crazy. And in my opinion, it's very interesting to see a character who starts off, I think, very boring and basic to become someone who's extremely complex. And I think he's really one of those villains who you just love to hate, and he just really works on the show. And like I said, I don't think they should have killed him off in season 3. I would like to have him around for at least one more season, and maybe season 4 they kill him off. But either way, I really like Grant, and I really wish he stuck around. And I like him in the comics too, but he's not as good on the show as he is. Okay, I said that wrong. He's not as good in the comics as he is on the show. Because in the comics, they made him like an Iron Man villain, which, I mean, it kind of works. But on the show, it is just, I think the actor who plays him, Brent Dalton, is just very good. Like, he's such a great actor. He's just very good at pulling off the villain than, I think, the hero. Graviton, who in the comics is Frank Hall, but due to some behind-the-scenes drama with the actor who played him, the character of Glenn Talbot was turned into Graviton instead. I thought he had the best fight on the show when he faced Daisy. That was movie level. His powers were scary, but not over the top. And my only real criticism about him is I would have liked him to stuck around a little bit longer, similar to Ward, as he was only Graviton for a couple episodes before dying. Although he did have a major appearance and role in earlier seasons. He first appeared at the end of season 1 and continued to appear until he died in season 5. So that's pretty much a very big role in my opinion. And I thought his character was very strong, but it was very different from when he was Graviton, which makes sense. There was a reason behind it. His personality was affected by the Gravitonium. So there was 100% a reason behind it. I'm not complaining. I just feel like it would have been more interesting to see maybe more of a story arc for him to become Graviton. Although they did hint at that when he did become him, it didn't exactly, I think, click as well as it could have. Either way, I thought his powers set in his costume too, his look, the actor who plays him is also amazing. I'm really sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head. And I think his character was just really cool looking. He had a very distinct look with the hair streaks and with his power set. And all in all, I really enjoyed him, despite the fact I think he genuinely should have stuck around a little bit longer. Madam Hydra, or Aida, another situation where Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. has mashed up 2 comic book characters. I thought Aida was an amazing villain, and I thought she was an even better evil robot than Ultron was in Age of Ultron. No offense, Age of Ultron, it's Ultron. It's just the fact that on a show, we get to have a slow burn when it comes to characters becoming evil. While in movies, it certainly can work, A lot of times, I would say, although I'm not criticizing the movies, I love the movies. You just can't. They just don't. I think have the same structure when it comes to storylines as a TV show can, because it's not an ongoing story. It's a one and done until the next movie, where sometimes some plot points continue and sometimes they don't. But on a TV show like Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., it can go on for an entire season for 26 episodes, or 24, 23, or just 20. Either way, I really liked Aida's character. I thought she made a insanely, insane villain with the evil robot, and the idea of mixing science storylines and magic storylines sounds like a really bad idea on paper. Like, just saying that out loud, I think it sounds really stupid. But the show made it work, and it was Aida that tied them together. And at the end of the day, I thought not only did it make it work, it honestly was probably for the better. It was very impressive, as I did not think it was going to work at the end of the day when they introduced Ghost Rider and the whole stuff. I was like, uh-oh, why are they introducing magic and science in a robot? That's not going to work. But it did. It genuinely worked at the end of the day. And I thought the character of Aida, genuinely, I thought, really tied it together. And I felt like she was it was interesting, because I want to say she was very human, but she wasn't, because she was a robot. But you understood her frustration wanting to become human, and then her frustration wanting to become more than human, but inhuman. And at the end of the day, I really liked Aida's character. And I'm also sad she died after one season, because I think Aida could have continued on, but I understand that she kind of had to die, seeing the fact that she was overpowered and, she had to go eventually. But either way, I really liked Aida's character, and I'm kind of sad that she got killed off, despite the fact I 100% understand why they had to kill her off. Jiaying, another great villain, who has a personal connection to the heroes, being the mother of Daisy Johnson. I found her honestly to be very scary, which I think is credit to the actress and the writers, as no offense to her, but she's a very small and done woman who dresses up in a lot of, more or less motherly clothing. I think she has an exterior that comes across very motherly and very friendly and very warm. I don't mean that as an insulting way, by the way. I mean that as a compliment, and I think that's perfectly normal, and everyone, of course, is different. But I thought it was very interesting in how she could really just turn from being this warm, mothering figure to being cold and scary as hell. And I think that's really a credit to the actress with how she was able to play off both roles. And at the end of the day, I think it really worked. And it was so scary to see her when she turned into that cold exterior when she killed Gonzalez. It was scary. She became really scary. I loved how her threats, she actually followed through with them. As a lot of times I think villains will just make ultimatums. Jiaying didn't make ultimatums. She went through the threats. She showed how she would kill people. She threw that crystal in with that shield guard to show how she would kill them. She murdered Gonzalez. And I think she really does show, just yeah, I'm not here to just make threats. I'm going to follow through with them. And she really did, or tried to at least, before dying. And I think Jiaying returning in season 7, it just made her character even more complex. With learning how, if it wasn't for all the trauma she went through, she would be a very different person. But after being tortured and having her first daughter die, she became cold and cruel. And it really just shows you how, something so traumatic can change someone, and how it changed her into a monster. And it was just very scary and very sad, because you would know that, yeah, Jiaying at one point was, in fact, a good person, but she died a monster. And it's just very complex, and it's just very sad. And at the end of the day, I think you really understood why Daisy, at points, clearly Daisy, I think, has a little bit crazy in her. No hate to Daisy, by the way. I love Daisy's character. But you can definitely tell that Daisy has a little bit of crazy in her, and you can definitely understand why, because, Jiaying is her mother. Izel. I thought Izel was an okay foe, but I did feel like she was a little overpowered, and kind of felt like a basic superpower big bad. As unlike a lot of other villains, she had no real motivation, but I did think the actress who played her did a good job at chewing up scenery. And there's not really much else to talk about when it comes to Izel's character. The Hive. This one's a little hard to do due to him using Ward's body, and I keep on trying to think about how much I like Ward's character, but I need to remember that this isn't Ward, this is Hive. But I thought that all of the fact that Brent Dalton was the one that was playing Hive or playing his avatar made Hive a lot better in the fact that he was also wearing the skin of someone that once betrayed the main team was also a lot better. And I thought it was very gory and scary by the fact that he was technically wearing his skin. And it wasn't a situation where it was like, oh, he's possessing his dead body. No, Hive is like this like creature type thing, and it literally like wears his skin. And it's just very ugh. Although I do have to say that I found Hive at times a little too brutal. It actually got to the point where I had to take a break from the show at one point for like a couple months. And of course I came back, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I did. My bad. And I'm not hating, because I know a lot of people love brutal type of stuff. And I can handle brutal stuff sometimes. But I thought that boardroom scene where Hyde murders all those people by eating their flesh, even the bloody bones alone, was just way too much for me. I couldn't continue after that a little bit, for a little while. I had to take a break. It was just so gory. I thought it was just a little too far, or actually not even a little too far. I think it was way too far. Like I'm very surprised that they were allowed to do that, because it was probably more horrific than I think I've ever seen. Than like the most horrific scene I think I've ever seen in anything. Like, it was worse than anything in Gotham, which has a lot of gore in it, like Professor Pig feeding people to people, or I think even slasher movies. I think it was more horrific than slasher movies. Like, it was honestly, I think, one of the like goriest things I've ever seen. Like maybe I'm overreacting, but I really feel like it was just way too far. John Garrett. I really liked John Garrett in the first season. Although I think the actor who they recast to play him in season 7 as a younger version of his character made him feel very different, to the point where it was next to unbelievable that they're meant to be the same person. Which, yes, I understand that people can change over time, but they were completely different people. Like, completely. They have a completely different personality. One of them is very flirtatious, while the other one, I think, is a lot more affirmative and a lot more strong when it comes to his orders and stuff like that, and more professional. I mean, he's a Nazi, but you know what I mean. Well, the other one is very, not very good at being a villain. I know he was meant to be a minion and all, but he was he just wasn't as good as being a villain as he was in season 1. Which, I mean, I guess you can say, like, he learned over time to who he became, but I just feel like he didn't really work. I do really like him in season 1 with how he mentored Ward, and he tried to mold him into himself, but would fail in terms of something even more dangerous. So I think John Garrett in season 1 and John Garrett in season 7 are very different people, like I said. So John Garrett in season 1 I really enjoyed, but John Garrett in season 7 I wouldn't say I disliked. I say he's very different from the John Garrett in season 1. Eli Morrow I thought was okay, but I didn't think he could hold his own when it comes to his scenes with Robbie Reyes, played by Gabriel Luna, as Gabriel is a phenomenal actor. While no hate to the actor who plays Eli, he just wasn't strong enough in his performance, and when it comes to Eli as a whole, I really don't think any actor could bring that character to compete with someone as interesting as Ghost Rider. As at the end of the day, I think Eli was kind of a boring role, and overall, I don't think any actor could genuinely make that character be as interesting as Ghost Rider could come off. So, no offense to this actor who plays him, and no offense to any actor. I just don't think I think that's just a thankless role. Sarge was a character who I thought worked, but it was very distracting, as it was very obvious that his character was created just to bring back Clark Gregg. Although his character was confirmed to have been, inspired by the villain Ord, but they couldn't exactly say it was Ord because of the fact that he is an X-Men villain and they do not own the rights to that X-Men villain yet. So despite the fact that he is based on Ord, he is distinct enough to not be Ord. Like, he's not called Ord. And overall, I think, well, I do think it's very distracting that Clark Gregg is back as a random variant of himself, which I thought was very confusing. I can't complain too much, as I think Clark Gregg is a great actor, and I would have hated to have seen him leave the show completely. So I'm happy he came back, and I thought he was very good as Sarge. It was just very distracting to see him as Sarge. And also the reasoning behind why Sarge looked like Coulson, I thought was overall unbelievable and kind of ridiculous. But the whole stone stuff, I did not believe that. It was very unbelievable, and I think the show itself didn't even believe it, as they only mentioned it once. So I think they could have probably thought of a better way to bring back Clark Gregg. Like, I like Sarge, the character, but I feel like it's just very confusing. I think they could have figured a better way. Although to think of, I can't even think of a better way. So in all honesty, I think that is probably the best way to say that why he looks like Coulson. But still, it's just very confusing. I mean, I think you could just said that he's like a Coulson from another universe, but by saying the whole like time stone in space thing and the whole creation stone. Also, I'm referring to them as stones, but like they're the rocks and the actual. I'm talking about the Infinity Stone. I'm talking about like those big rocks. I think it was very unbelievable, and that's just my opinion. Of course, opinions vary. It was just very distracting, in my personal opinion. Next is Whitehall, who is a character who had a role to play, and he did it. The character is very cold, so it's not even much to talk about. It's why his character playing a big role in season 2. He had a purpose and fulfilled it, and then died. Personally, I don't really care much for Whitehall. I wasn't overall ecstatic with this villain. I didn't hate this villain. So overall, he's just there. He had a purpose. He fulfilled it, and let's move on. Nathaniel Malik. He was annoying, but that was on purpose, so I'm not complaining. I thought the actor was very strong in his performance, and yeah, I don't know what else I'm meant to talk about, as there's not meant to much to go into about his character, which I'm kind of happy about, because I'm happy they didn't go too much into his character, because they wanted to focus more on the actual characters, like the main characters, like Quake, Daisy. I just call Quake and Daisy, they're separate characters. Quake, May, Gemma, Fitz, etc., Coulson, Mac, Yo-Yo. They wanted to focus on them rather than the villains. So, personally, I think that was for the best. So I'm not going to complain about Nathaniel not being developed as much as earlier villains. So either way, I don't really care, but I did think the actor did bring a lot of attitude when it came to the role, and I do applaud him for that. And last but not least is Sybil. She's in the same situation as Nathaniel, as she didn't really do much in the final season. Although I do have to say, I really liked her whole style. I found her to look very striking and looked very futuristic with her black robe type outfit and her bowl cut with the trims uncut. I don't know what the hairstyle was called, but I thought it looked cool. So I think she had a very striking look, and she really popped on screen. But overall, her character didn't really do anything except for make speeches, which were I would say okay. I was supposed to say they were bad, but they weren't bad. I'll be honest, they were just okay. They weren't. I wouldn't say they're horrible. Like I said, they're okay. Better than a lot of other speeches and a lot of other shows, definitely. And that's it. I will be talking to the other villains like Absorbing Man, Werner von Strucker, Ruby, etc. in other videos. Also want to mention that Deathlock won't be on the list of villains, as he wasn't technically a villain. And with that, I'll see you guys later. Please like, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.